Today, we're going to take a look at the most powerful handguns that you can find in the world. These are guns that make your knees shake and that you need to hold on tight with both of your hands when shooting. Well, generally, handguns are rather weak in exchange for them being small, portable, and in many cases concealable. These handguns are an exception. Where the normal handgun is made for self-defense in a close-quarter environment against two-legged attackers, these handguns are big, bulky, heavy, and strong enough to hunt the largest and most dangerous game you can find. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Number 10, the Magnum Research BFR, 4570 Government. Our first handgun is the Magnum Research BFR, chambered in 4570 Government. The BFR in Magnum Research BFR stands for Big Frame Revolver, but some might think of it as a big friendly revolver. However, while it might be friendly in the sense that it protects you, it's not necessarily friendly to your wrist or whatever poor target you shoot at with this monster. While the BFR is a handgun, and it's available in many chamberings, we're looking at it especially in 4570 Government. This cartridge was never intended to be fired at anything but a rifle, but as much as the BFR is made even for 30-30 Winchester, it also comes at a variant for 4570. When we look at the 4570 itself for a moment, that is a beast of a cartridge. Developed in the times of black powder, the 45 stands for the diameter of the bullet, the 70 stands for the 70 grains of black powder used in each round. For today, it seems quite weak when you look at the chamber pressure. It generates only 28,000 psi. However, this changes immediately when you look at the energy foot-pounds. As a normal, it shoots a 500-grain bullet at a muzzle velocity of 1,150 feet per second, generating 1,468 foot-pounds. However, there are loads out there that are easily generate 2,800, 3,400, and even 3,700 foot-pounds. This dwarfs the 5.56 by 45 millimeter NATO and even the 7.62 by 51 millimeter NATO. And the best is, you can pair this revolver with a lever-action gun and use the same ammo for both. Number 9, Smith & Wesson Model 460 and 460 Smith & Wesson Magnum. The 460 Smith & Wesson Magnum comes with a chamber pressure of 65,000 psi, making it this category the most powerful revolver cartridge in the world, together with the 454 Castle. The cartridge itself is quite efficient. You can easily push a 360 grain bullet up to 1,900 feet per second at the muzzle with more than 2,800 foot-pounds of energy. If you look for the biggest and greatest effect on any living creature on this planet, that is your handgun. It shoots flat, it shoots far, it hits with the power of a freight train. What more can you want? However, keep in mind that actually shooting that beast will also leave quite a powerful impression on your wrist and your whole body. So brace yourself, and do not give this gun into the hands of a beginner. Number 8, Smith & Wesson Model 500 and 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum. You're looking for a real hand cannon that pushes a 50 cal round? Look no further. Here is the Smith & Wesson Model 500. As a standard, it fires a 440 grain bullet at a muzzle velocity of 1,325 feet per second with 1,700 foot-pounds of energy. However, if you are not recoil shy, which you of course cannot be with such a monster, you can go for the 350 grain load from Underwood. It gets a muzzle velocity of 1,912 feet per second with more than 2,800 foot-pounds of energy. To achieve such performance, you do not just push in a 50 caliber bullet down the barrel. You do not just have to contend with a ton of recoil. You also get a chamber pressure of 60,000 psi. You can get the Smith & Wesson Model 500 revolver, barrel length from 3.5 to 10.5 inches. It's better to go for a longer barrel with a compensator, just to shave off a little bit of the forces that hammer their way into your body when this beast fires. Number 7, Ruger Super Red Hawk and 454 Castle. The 454 Castle is what you can make out of the 45 caliber. It was developed more than 60 years ago, but it stayed a Wildcat cartridge until the day came that Ruger chambered it in the Super Red Hawk. Now it gains more and more popularity with handgun hunters who really want to see some performances. When it comes to chamber pressure, the 454 Castle is one of the 2 hottest revolver cartridges ever. For that, it generates 65,000 psi. That pushes a 325 grain bullet to 1,525 feet per second, 1,678 foot-pounds of energy. However, if you feel you can take the pain, you can use hotter loads to even achieve power levels past 1,900 foot-pounds. Number 6, Ruger Super Red Hawk Alaskan 480 Ruger. The 480 Ruger was introduced in 2003, achieves 1,310 foot-pounds of energy with a chamber pressure of 48,000 psi. With that, it pushes a 410 grain bullet with a diameter of .475 to a muzzle velocity of 1,200 feet per second. This does not only make for a good performance on target, but also some hefty recoil, even more so as it's shot out of a Ruger Super Red Hawk Alaskan with a barrel length of just 2.5 inches. The revolver is well balanced and definitely well suited to go after a large game, but you will feel in your wrist what you have done. Number 5, Freedom Arms Model 83 and 475 line bar. While the 475 line bar is often said to be extremely powerful, reality it sits at the same range as the 44 Magnum, at least when it comes to foot-pounds. With buffalo bore rounds, you can push it up to some 1,700 foot-pounds of energy. However, it does win when it comes to diameter. That is with .475, more than the .429. That is really the diameter of the 44 Magnum, which also makes for heavier projectiles with 400 grain compared to the typical 240 grain of the 44 Magnum. What is even more interesting is the chamber pressure here. The .475 line bar manages 50,000 psi. Thanks to the big heavy bullets, you create bigger wound channels that go way deeper. This makes it a popular load for large as well as dangerous game. The Freedom Arms Model 83, you get a good package that allows you to take on almost anything. Number 4, Smith & Wesson Model 29 and 44 Remington Magnum. When it comes to powerful handguns, everyone remembers the Smith & Wesson Model 29, said to be the most powerful handgun in the world. Now, while the 44 Magnum it shoots is not necessarily the most powerful cartridge anymore, it does deserve to be mentioned here. It is really powerful, especially when looking at the context of its time. Then the 357 Magnum was as high as it could get, and actually it was considered a round that only crazy people shoot. However, while a 357 Magnum generates 800 foot-pounds with hot loads, the 44 Magnum goes a little bit further. With a 304 grain bullet, it reaches 1,325 feet per second, generating 1,188 foot-pounds of energy. There are even loads pushing it above 1,500 foot-pounds of energy. That is all achieved with a chamber pressure of only 36,000 psi. 44 Magnum has proven itself time and time again. It has also bagged some African buffaloes. While it is not at the top of the most powerful calibers, it is described as being rather unpleasant to shoot. However, it is a cartridge that you can still realistically shoot out of a handgun while it brings great performance out of a lever-action rifle. This opens the way for some great pairs of rifle and sidearm that use the same exact ammo. Number 3, the Ruger Single 7 and 327 Federal Magnum. If you know revolvers and revolver calibers, you might think, now why is a handgun shooting 327 Federal Magnum on this list? This little cartridge is not even as powerful as a 357 Magnum, which, by the way, did not make this list. The answer is simple, because of its chamber pressure. The 327 Federal Magnum is made to compete with the 357 Magnum while being smaller to make for a higher capacity in the cylinder of a revolver. As the projectile is smaller, it's also lighter. To still achieve the power levels of the 357 Magnum, it needs more speed. To achieve that, it works with a chamber pressure of 45,000 psi compared to the 35,000 of the 357 Magnum. This allows it to actually compare favorably to the lighter and mid-level loads of the 357, while it is still outclassed by the hotter loads of the 357. With the high pressure, the projectile of the 327 Federal Magnum, with its diameter of .312, is pushed to 1,300 feet per second and 487 foot-pounds as a standard. However, there are loads that get the energy even up to 640 foot-pounds. This is more than enough for deer and hogs, while at the same time keeping the recoil down. Number 2, Smith & Wesson Model 3566 in 356 TSW. This cartridge or gun most probably come as a surprise to you. It was meant to be a real game changer, except that it was not. Intended for competition, the idea was to keep the capacity of handguns at maximum, while at the same time meeting power factors that are required for the IPSC limited competition. The 356 TSW was in one sense a success. Made itself a nice place in history. When it comes to autoloaders, it comes with the highest pressure. Problem was that the rules of the competition changed, so it could not perform its mission as intended. However, it did push a 124 grain bullet to a velocity of 1,450 feet per second within the size of a 9mm Luger. The energy was 578 foot-pounds. Number 1, the Magnum Research Desert Eagle in 50 AE. While you need a revolver when you go to really high power levels, there's an autoloader that tries to play with the big boys and is actually often perceived as the strongest of the strongest. Of course, who knows what revolvers can do knows it better. For the Magnum Research Desert Eagle, this is a real beast, and it comes with caliber 50 bullets in the form of the 50 AE or Action Express cartridge. This one is powerful enough to push a 300 grade bullet to 1,475 feet per second, generating 1,449 foot-pounds. If you want, you can get even more. There are loads that even generate 1,600 foot-pounds. All this comes with a pressure of only 35,000 psi in the chamber. When it comes to autoloaders, that is as powerful as it gets. There you have it, guys. Some of the most powerful handguns you can find. If you own one of them, well, tell everyone in the comments how it is to shoot them.